What's up, Smoke?
Everything.
I thought you was finna drop a beat. Hey, hey. It's the trash talkers, and we sitting on the couch. I know you like the trash, we be spitting out our mouth. Hey, here we go, and I'm feeling pure. We're about to talk about drugs and if there's a cure.
We did it. We made it.
All right, so let's start with the obvious.
What's the obvious?
Would you agree that there's an opiate epidemic?
There definitely is.
Why do you think that is, first and foremost?
Well, you got to think about, man, when these painkillers, they figured out a way to block the opiate receptors and fill them up with their drugs. I mean, it was originally done through codeine, through opium.
Opium, right.
Opium was the original derivative.
Wasn't there like some soft drink or something back in the day that was widely available that had
There was cocaine.
No, back then you could buy cough syrup with codeine in it.
Yes, of course.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was available up until, 10 years ago they stopped?
In America?
Yeah. I remember in my 20s, you could go into a pharmacy and buy codeine cough syrup. You had to sign for it at that time, but before then, you could buy it right off the shelves.
Where was I then? Actually, I don't want to be around then.
Yeah.
But continue. I'm sorry. Why do you think there is such an epic?
Well, I mean, for one, life. This goes kind of deep, but life is pain.
Take me deep, bro.
Right?
Take me deep.
Life is pain. As you go through life, they would call it growing pains. You know,
Ooh.
The older you get, the more pain you are in. So, opiates and opiate derivatives came about. It was like a miracle drug, right? I mean, you think about it, they're giving you a drug that can take away. Oh no.
That could be bad luck.
Luck of the Irish just ran out, didn't it?
We'll keep it going, but keep going.
But yeah, so it was a miracle drug, so everybody wanted a piece of that, right?
Right.
Through and I think the big one is morphine, of course, which is a direct opiate. You know, it's not synthetic.
It's straight to the.
Yes, but then I want to say it was World War I or II. The Germans came up with synthetics like codeine and methadone, all the ONEs.
Really?
Yes, synthetics that mimic the opiate response.
Huh.
So, I mean, this is just, it's kind of nerdish, you know, to go this deep on it, but
Take it deep, my friend.
but this is why there is an epidemic, because it works. And the problem is there's a huge backlash from taking these opiates over time.
Why is there a backlash?
Because your body quickly becomes adapt to it, and eventually you need them to feel normal.
Okay.
You know?
Which they put you on more opiates.
Yes, that for the longest time, that's how they combated that. If you go into your doctor and you say, well, the opiates are not working anymore, they're like, well, you're going to have to up your dosage so that they start working again.
Right.
You keep digging yourself deeper in that hole, and then eventually it's a long, hard climb out of that hole.
And like you said, back then, what they would do is just give you more opiates to combat the withdrawals.
And that was good for the economy.
Right. But now they are giving you opiates, but it's a synthetic version. So
yes.
we had you on Lortabs, we've had you on Percocets, we've had you on Oxycontin forever. So I'm going to take you off of that, but now I'm going to introduce you to Methadone. I'm going to introduce you to Suboxone.
Yes.
Which synthetically or chemically, basically, it attacks the same receptors in your brain.
Yes. Although Suboxone is an antagonist or agonist.
I can never get those
right. They're opposites, methadone, but they both work in the same way.
Right.
Although Suboxone, when you take that, it's going to block out the other opiates. It's going to completely fill those opiate receptors where nothing else can get in, and you can only use that. And as a matter of fact, if you were on a high dosage of opiates and you immediately switch to Suboxone, it's going to push out all the other opiates. And there's a refractory period where it's going to take some time for the Suboxone to start working.
Huh. You know, again, I'm going to put it all on the line here, guys. You're talking to someone who was heavily addicted to opiates for the majority of I could say the majority of my life.
Yeah, so it's easy to see in your case,
Right.
and my case, and many cases,
Right.
why there was such an epidemic and why there is, and it's still going on.
Absolutely. Now, with me being so bad on an opiate, and then I got sick of the lifestyle, so I went to Methadone Clinic,
Yes.
and which is another opiate. And then for, I guess, when you're there for the moment, you're like, okay, I'm not out on the streets buying drugs. I'm not spending this amount of money on buying drugs. I'm at a safe doctor's office where they're dosing me on a daily basis. But if you've been doing that for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, the Methadone Clinic literally becomes your new drug dealer.
It's a trap.
100%. It's just a
Yes.
way to keep you in their circle. So
They can monitor you, and in some cases, it has shown to be helpful. It keeps you off of street drugs, right?
yeah, and I'm a living testimony to
Yeah,
it.
you can get a clean source of an opiate that's gonna keep you functioning, keep your maintenance up,
Right.
and you can go to work. And,
You just said it right there. When I was on opiates, I had to make sure, okay, do I have enough for the next day and the next day? But with methadone, I was able to, okay, I know I have a dose, so I know. And I will say, when I got off the opiates and got onto the methadone, it made me more a productive member of society.
yes, yes.
But
And in many cases, it's more affordable.
yeah, methadone can be expensive. Though,
Yes,
man.
it can. But some people have extreme addictions where methadone maintenance would be more affordable.
Right. Now, this goes into the whole cure thing because one can say you're substituting, but I went from the hardcore opiates to the methadone that gave me a stable lifestyle. And once I got down, I wanted to be off of methadone so bad, I dropped down to 5 milligrams, bro. And I will never forget it. I had a friend of mine that said, "You're on 5 milligrams. Why don't you just stop?" When he said that, I did some research and I found out about a drug or a natural herb
Yes.
called kratom.
And kratom is a wonder. I mean, it's so amazing that lawmakers tried to stop us from having that, because the pharmaceutical companies fought back hard to keep kratom from being legal in America, because there's not as many withdrawals related to kratom. Yes, there are withdrawals. There are withdrawals you take for any chemical that
Anything.
you put in your body.
Caffeine, nicotine.
Yes, there are going to be withdrawals. So that was their big point. They're doing that a lot with the vaping these days. Like, people switch over to vaping, so the tobacco companies and the pharmaceutical companies, even they love to make their nicotine drugs.